Greetings, people. So in this video, we'll talk about selling your truck, specifically in regard to the features of your truck. Because I think one of the things you will find out when you go to list your truck for sale is that your truck typically is not unique, in and of itself. There are probably a dozen other trucks in your area that are very, very similar to your truck. What you want to try to do is determine what a good price point might be. So compare your truck to other trucks that's similar make, model, year, mileage. So say it's just a stock truck, say a Freightliner Cascadia, a 2019 like the one I just sold. So very stock. And you look for it had 600,000 miles. So you look for other trucks in the area that are 2019 Freightliner Cascadia with about 600,000 miles. And you create a list of about 10 of those trucks, and you look at their asking price, and you take the average, and that's probably where you should be. Because you got to keep in mind the supply and demand curves that come into play. So the more quantity of trucks available, the lower the price. The scarcer the trucks are, the higher the price. Now let's say, for example, you got the price competitive with the other trucks in your area. What makes a buyer want to buy your truck versus someone else's truck? Because we're looking at similar trucks. So let's say they're all the same color, red, so why would he buy a red truck from you versus a red truck from someone else? Well, I think it comes down to features, because, the price isn't going to be the determining factor because you're in the same ballpark as the other sellers. So what distinguishes your truck from the other trucks? Typically, it'll come down to features. And let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, your truck has an APU and the other trucks don't. Well, that's a big plus. And as a seller, you want to emphasize that feature on your truck because you've done your homework and those other trucks that you found in your area don't have an APU. And if your buyer is smart, he would have done his homework as well, and he too will know that only your truck has an APU. So here's the selling pitch towards that buyer. You're the seller, you got to make a pitch, and the pitch is, my truck has an APU. That's the feature. And then we want to talk about the achievement. What does that achieve for you? I mean, it's nice they got a feature, but what does it do for you? Well, the achievement is it saves you on fuel. So typically, trucks will run at 7 miles per gallon. Let's say they run 3,000 miles for the week and they pay $4 a gallon for diesel. Well, that's going to cost them about $1,700 for the week for diesel. But if you throw an APU on there, maybe they save a mile per gallon. And now instead of spending $1,700 for the week, they only spend $1,500 for the week. So they save $200 per week on diesel. That's the benefit. So the thing with features is you want to point out the feature. We got an APU. What does it achieve? Saves you money on fuel. And what's the benefit? You spend less money. You save money. That's the benefit. If you can do that successfully, that's your pitch to that buyer. Because they're like, well, I'm kind of interested in this other truck. And you're like, well, let me point out to you, this truck's got an APU. That's going to save you fuel, which means that's going to save you money. So I don't know what the other guys ask for his truck, but if we're similar in price, this is a better deal because of this feature. So let's talk about another feature. Let's say your truck has a grill guard and maybe the other trucks don't. So let's do that again. We're going to go feature, achievement, benefit, FAB. Feature, achievement, benefit. Feature, grill guard. Achievement, protects the front of your grill, from animals and from, minor fender benders and people who want to speed check you, things like that. And what's the benefit? The benefit is it's going to save you costly repairs and downtime. So let's say, for example, if you hit a deer without a grill guard, that's probably going to crack your radiator. You're going to have a tow bill, which is like $1,000. You're going to have to spend several $1,000s getting your truck repaired, and you're going to be down for so you're going to be down for a week. So that's going to cost you money. So between the tow truck and the repairs, that would be like $5,000 or more. And then being off for a week could cost you $5,000 lost revenue. So that's like $10,000. So they're like, well, what's the big deal having a grill guard? Well, you got a grill guard, it protects you, and it could save you money. And you could use that example of the tow, the repair, and the downtime. It could save you upwards of $10,000. So that's a selling feature. So if you could make that pitch to that buyer, then that's another reason why they're going to buy your truck versus someone else's truck. And you can go through that feature by feature of your truck. Maybe you got a custom leather seat in your truck. Like, oh, big deal. What's that going to do for you? Well, if you're more comfortable while you're driving, you're going to want to drive more. And the more the wheels turn, the more you earn. So there's the feature, is the leather seat. The achievement is more comfortable driving. You drive more miles. The benefit is more miles, more money. So make that pitch. Same thing if you got a custom mattress. You get a better night's sleep, you're rested, and then the next day you're ready to go, and you're going to drive, an extra 100 miles because you feel better. So just use that formula, feature, achievement, benefit, over and over and over again. Now, you will be tempted to list your truck at a higher price because of all those features. I caution you on that because, your buyer may be sensitive to price, where, if you're $5,000 or $10,000 higher than all the other trucks, he may say, well, for $5,000, $10,000 or $10,000, I'll go buy all those features. I go get them myself, or he may know a guy. Everybody seems to know a guy, right? Oh, I know a guy who can do that for me for free. Or my buddy is a mechanic, he'll put that on there for free. Or, they'll find a way to cut the cost. So I look at features as a way to distinguish my truck from another truck that I'm trying to sell. I've never had any problems, finding a buyer for my trucks. I've sold 2 trucks on my own. It's been great. But I've always had features to sweeten the deal, and I kept the price competitive, and you don't allow someone to lowball you, because, that's a common negotiating tactic is they try to, make a ridiculous offer. And then what you could do is you come back and say, well, I understand, you're making an offer, but you're forgetting about all these features, and you just list the different features and all the cost savings that's going to help the buyer. They're like, well, they're offering you $5,000 less. And you're like, well, this has an APU. It's going to save you $200 a week. What's that worth to you? If you're a road warrior, you're on the road for 50 weeks, take 50 times 200, that could save you 10 grand right there. So he's trying to lowball you by $5,000, but you came back with a feature that justified your price. This is how you make the sell. This is how you make the pitch. And same thing when you're buying a truck. These principles work both ways. So you're looking to go buy a truck. You make a list of 10 trucks you're interested in, and you start noticing which ones have features. But if the price is the same, then it's the features going to make the decision. It's going to make an easier decision for you as a buyer and for you as a seller. If the price is too high, then as a buyer, you may want to buy a truck without those features and just go add them on for yourself. But if you're motivated to sell your truck, then use features to pitch the sale, to make the pitch. And I think you'll be quite successful. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.